Hello. Good evening, everyone. Keisha Henry here with Faith for the Journey. Welcome to episode 8. I can't believe it. We're just marching on. And what I always do. Yeah. I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. I almost feel like I'm in church. Oh my gosh. How's it going, everyone? Welcome to episode 8. And we always get going with worship. And, you know, it's just the way how I always start things. So I'm going to try to figure out why my music is not playing real quick. But we're going to get started. And let's see. Here we go. I want to play the song by Lauren Daigle. I was cleaning today. And I was cleaning today, and this song just came up in my feed, so I'm gonna play it. Before I bring my need, I will bring my heart. It's an old song, and it just kind of came up today. Before I lift my cares, I will lift my arms. I wanna know you, I wanna find you in every season, in every moment. Before I bring my need, I will bring my heart. The title of the song is called First. Seek you. I wanna seek you. I wanna seek you. I wanna keep you. I wanna keep you. More than anything I want you. Before I speak a word, let me hear your voice. And in the midst of pain, let me feel your joy. Ooh, I wanna know you, I wanna find you in every season, in every moment. I love this song. I will bring my heart and seek you. To be clear, I struggled with seeking him first this week. I wanna seek you. I wanna keep you. I wanna keep you. If you're joining us for the first time for Faith for the Journey, I almost did Healing of the Heart again. Welcome. It's so good to have you. And you're probably wondering why you're hearing this music. This is how we start. We always start by setting our minds in the right place. Music is powerful. It's one of the resources that we talk about here on this podcast. And if you look in life, music is powerful. That's why, we should be careful the type or kinds of music that we allow into our minds and our hearts. But yeah, so we always start off, and if you listen long enough, you'll figure that music is weaved in all throughout this podcast every time. So let's continue to enjoy Lauren Daigle. First. I'm so excited about episode 8, guys. Can't wait to dive in. You often hear me say artists that I want to sing with. I'd like to sing with her too. Yay! Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. I wish, you know what? I was about to say, I wish you could see me. So that's the first announcement I have tonight, is that I finally sat down long enough to find a video recording camera. So Amazon said that it should arrive by Monday on my daughter's birthday, Kyra. Happy early birthday, Kyra Henry. Love you, turning 18, making me cry about this. Oh my gosh. Um, she's probably listening, my husband. Yeah. But so yeah, the camera is slated to come on Monday the 25th on my daughter's birthday. I'm excited. So I will be trying that thing out all week to, because I'm excited about this being able to do not just only audio podcasts, but video audio podcasts. So you can see me. So you can see my little podcast corner. Yeah, you can see my little podcast corner. It's really cool. But that's a little bit of an update. I have a couple more updates, but I figure I'd share that because, I've been talking about that for a while, even with Healing of the Heart podcast. And by the way, I really appreciate you all, like all of my clients that from New Beginning Healing Institute that, so my God, the podcast is so helpful. It's encouraging. Man, I can see this being, something, you're going to do something greater with this, things like that, And I always share with my clients that, I am an apprentice for life, meaning that I'm always learning and I learn a lot from them. I mean, I work with some incredible women. By the way, quick shout out to Stephanie Semino. She's a senior therapist in the office. I'm so proud of her. And just want to give her a round of applause tonight. She's amazing. She wasn't feeling well today because we have supervision every other Saturday. We weren't able to meet today. She told me this morning that she's feeling, like under the weather again. So you guys send out prayers for Stephanie Semino tonight. That shit gets better because her client, they depend on her too, and I do too. So, but yeah, I work with a lot of incredible women, and with that, I had to mention Stephanie because she's included in that. Oh my gosh, Amanda Acosta. I can't be calling names. That's why I get in trouble. Amanda Acosta. She's our assistant at New Beginning Healing Institute. She handles all of our, scheduling and all of our billing and all kinds of stuff behind the scenes. I would be remiss to not mention Amanda Acosta this evening. I really appreciate you both. Thank you so much. So yeah, I work with a lot of, I work with a lot of incredible women, and it's easy to forget people, or not forget, but overlook the things that are maybe not in your face every day. But believe me, those things, if they're absent, you cannot function. Yeah, Amanda's one of those persons. I have to tell you that. She's amazing. She's incredible. Me and Stephanie bow to her all the time. Like, man, you keep us on our feet. You know what I mean? So yeah, so let's give a round of applause for Amanda Acosta. She's really amazing. Yeah, she deserves that. So yeah, let's get the show on the road. Oh my gosh, so every week I'm always like, Lord, what am I going to talk about? I mean, there's so many things I can talk about. I mean, you guys know I can talk. I was telling a colleague the other day, like when I was in primary school, that's what they used to tell my grandparents because my mom was, abroad. And if you guys know my story, my book, my dad didn't raise me. That's not a secret. So my grandmother, when she had what you call here in this country parent teachers conference, she would go, if Miss Morant would just stop talking, if Miss Morant, that's my surname, if she would just stop talking, you know what? I'm glad I didn't stop talking. Can you imagine? It's been one of my biggest gifts, from God is to talk. He's really gifted me with talking. The gift of knowledge, how to talk. Can you imagine if I'd stopped talking? You guys wouldn't have me in practice. Look at that, right? Ha ha ha. Anyway, welcome to Faith for the Journey, episode number 8, seeing it through. If you've listened to the prior episodes, once again, I have to tap in here and say, one of my clients said, I like podcasts that build on each other, like one episode builds to the next. She's right, another amazing woman from this NBHI community. If you're wondering what NBHI stands for, that's New Beginning Healing Institute, and that's the name of our practice, right? Another incredible woman said, I like the fact that your podcast will go from, it will build on each other. So this podcast really is big on that, so, you can pick up anywhere on any episode and find the place and find somewhere in there to connect. Yeah. What else I want to complete at the front? So at the front, yeah, we do consenting, right? Meaning that we make sure that, we share that this is a safe space and we want you to feel safe. So if this podcast gets a little rough, right, you can shut it down. Number one. Number two, get some movement going. Maybe step outside and take a walk, play some music like I was doing earlier. Do something that is different or the opposite of the emotions that you're feeling, because that can help to move you through. Because remember, difficult emotions, they come and they want to pass. They really do want to pass. They want to come and pass, but if we're fighting them, they're going to stay around a whole lot much longer, and we're going to feel a whole lot more worse. So one of the things that you can do, evidence-based, is that you shut it down, do something different, right? And always, this podcast is about finishing your story. This podcast is about helping individuals, to find the uniqueness in themselves, to get through the hardships and the disappointments and the traumas in their lives, and so that they don't take their lives, okay? So honestly, that's what this podcast is about. And I was inspired to do this podcast, obviously, from the work that I do. All right. So, this is not a clinical focused podcast, though. That's healing of the heart. We really do more human to human kind of talk on this podcast. And we do a whole lot of including our spirituality. Because again, through this work, I have found that's part of the constitution of yourself. This spiritual makeup is a big deal. And believe it or not, from that part of us, that's where, especially if it's contaminated, our major functions come from there, right? We're not talking about the physical part. We're talking about the metaphysical part of our lives rather. And so, cultivating faith, tapping into the spiritual aspect or the constitution or makeup of oneself is critical to your ability to feel motivated and your ability to feel like you can find meaning in life, right? So this podcast is about you finishing your story, seeing it through. And funny enough, I didn't get the title of the podcast until last night. Like I struggled all week. I'm like, what am I going to name this next one? So yeah, I don't have names picked out ahead of time. Just so you know, I don't. I literally wait until Wednesday-ish. Like, I'm like, all right, Lord, what am I going to put? What's the title? What's the title? Like, I know what I want to talk about. I mean, I have ideas, I mean, don't we have ideas about things? But I truly didn't know until like Wednesday, seeing it through. So that's what we're going to continue to talk about, is finishing our story. And tonight's title is called Seeing It Through. What are we going to cover tonight? Well, we're going to pick up from the last time, looking at, through the lens of, existentialism. That's going to always, you're going to hear me talk about that till the cows come home, because existentialism is a part of our existence. It's not going anywhere, and it has a lot of themes. One of those themes happens to be change. Another one is impermanence. And we'll talk about those in subsequent podcasts. But tonight we're going to pick up on one of the themes of existentialism, and that is acceptance, seeing it through. So acceptance, so you can see it through. That's gonna be the focus tonight. And then what else around other subtopics or extensions of that, acceptance or seeing it through, we're going to take a look at some other themes or sub themes that come out of acceptance, right? And then, we're going to also weave in there the spiritual side of things, right? Which is also existential if you really think about it. Take a look at some other scriptures that speaks to the same thing, right? Why? So you can continue to build your faith. Why? So you can see it through. So you can understand that your present moment is one that you really need to work with. Oh man, it's the one that this moment, the one that's probably tough, the one that's in the mud, the one that has you crying and feeling a lot of emotional pain. That one. Oh my gosh, that one, or those ones, that moment, you need to really be present in it and not check out from it. You really do. Um, I'll say this before, because I always consent up front, and then I, give the introduction to what we're going to talk about. And I always say I'm not going to do a long podcast tonight, and I end up doing. I can't help it. It's just so much that I want to share. And then, so basically, that's where we are. And I told myself tonight, be at ease a little bit more. Sometimes I'm a little bit wound too tight. Um, who's laughing at me? I can hear somebody laughing right now. But right. So I can get really involved, and I think it's going to be helpful for me too when I have the camera on. I'm hoping it will help me, not make me shy. But I can look and maybe see other persons join in, and I can see you and talk to you face to face, because I miss that aspect of talking to persons. So we're going to take a look at that tonight, and some poetry. We're going to weave in some poetry and some quotes tonight, trying to break it up a little bit. That actually came in my heart as an inspiration. I know God placed it there. So again, that's what we're going to be talking about, looking at, this theme of acceptance, and seeing it through. If we can accept something and embrace it rather than fight it, then you can see it through. If you can understand the importance of that rough moment and how important it is in that moment to engage with that moment, that present moment, then you will finish your story or your stories. You will continue to write your chapter every day. And then, so how we're going to support that with, existentialism framework, right? And also with a spiritual framework, right? Which is direct scriptures. So that's how we're going to do it. So we're going to just kind of pause here a little bit and play some more music and just continue to set the mindset, And I don't know, I was also listening to this one. Oh, I like this one today. This also popped up in my feed today. Um, I like this guy. His name is Bishop Paul Morton. I think he sings with my favorite guy. You know what's his name? William Murphy. Oh my gosh. I'd love to sing with him, right? All right, so here's Meet Me Here. So meet me here, guys. Meet me here. Meet me here. Meet me here. Meet me here. At the cross. At the cross. Meet me here. Meet me here. Meet me here. At the cross. I surrender. I give it all to you. I lay it down. I let it go. I surrender. I give it all to you. I lay it down. At the cross. I let it go. Somebody just want to meet me here. Just meet me here. Meet me here. Meet me here. Meet me here. Just as I was weary, worn, and sad. Be here. Troubles away. He can wipe your tears away. Right at the cross. Right at the cross. Right at the cross. If you don't know it, you ought to try. Anybody been there? Anybody been there? I surrender. I give it all. Doesn't matter where you come from. I love that. Lay it down. I love it. If my heart rolled away. When I hear songs like that, I look forward to church tomorrow. Yeah, that's true. I feel sad for people who have been hurt by people in churches, because then they say, God is horrible, and if they love God, how can that happen to me? And truth be told, people like that who do those things, you can't love God and hurt people. And so those people, they wear masks. People wear masks and go to church. That's what I say. And they use that as a platform to prey upon people who need help, to prey upon people who are broken. And because we do live in a fallen world, yeah, we have still fallen people that go to church that really they should be rehabilitated, and they're not, and they turn around and hurt people. But I just feel the need to say that because there are still good churches out there. They are. I mean, I'm thankful to have found one here in Dublin, Dublin Church of God. I love it. It's like old school church, where they sing all the old hymns and things like that, and they stand up and read the Bible. I dig it. I'm thankful. So when I hear songs like that, it just puts me in a mind frame wherein, man, I get to be in, a group of people who are like minded, and it helps to strengthen my faith. So being around people who are cultivating their faith, right, in a collective sense, what it does, it strengthens your own. It's like when you're lighting a fire. You ever light an outdoor fire? Well, I'm from Jamaica, so I've seen this quite a few times, but I'm sure you've done outdoors, outdoor fire, and you put one stick. I mean, that doesn't catch anything, right? But if you put quite a few pieces of sticks in there, you're going to catch something. And more or less metaphorically, that's what I see that happens every time I go to a Bible study, or I go to a worship service or Sunday school or something like that. I mean, something on the inside happens. I kid you not. After my last session on a Wednesday night, and which ends like around 7:15, I'm tired. I'm dead tired. But then I'm like, I'm gonna go. And my daughter, my 17-year-old who's turning 18 Monday, she says, "Mom, aren't we going to church?" And I'm like, I'm tired, Mom. We need to go. I promise you, every time I go, by the time I'm 15 minutes into service, I'm no longer tired. Something happens on the inside. Right? That's the spiritual part of us. That's the spiritual part of our constitution that we need to feed, and that we need to be flexible in our resources about how that part gets developed. And one of the ways I develop, that part of my life, which is faith, is by going to church and finding a good church to go to. So, I mean, if you're hurt, and let me tell you, I've been hurt by churches too, just so you know. But if that's you, you know, don't write it off forever. Maybe not, maybe just check it out. Maybe check out this place or that place. I can't tell you how many clients I've worked with that. And you've heard me say it a lot. They've been hurt by so many people in churches and they just give up. But having more conversation about it, then they say, you know what, maybe I'll try that church. Yeah, just try. You don't have to make a commitment, but just try and see what happens, because, you never know what doors can open for you. So we're still talking about cultivating faith. So, last time we were together, we looked at, two sets of scriptures in the Bible addressing, in what we call in our world, existentialism. So the Bible looks at existentialism, with different language, but the outcome pretty much reflects the same, that there are things that happen to us in our lives that we don't necessarily have, control over. And if you recall, I don't want to recap too much, but if you recall, one of the stories talked about the man that was born blind, and people were saying, oh, his parents did it, or you guys can hear my dryer. That his parents did it, or he did something wrong, and clearly, that was clarified, neither one. Then I talked about another set of scripture over in Romans, where he said that, it basically gave, what's the word I'm looking for, it basically proved or cemented the idea that, yeah, we are born in a world that was fallen. It wasn't originally that, but he said he subjected it, right? Not because he really wanted to, but in hope. In hope, right? So that scripture, I'm going to read that again because I think it's important to do that. It's Romans chapter 9. Let me read it. So for those who are joining us for the first time, you have reference for what I'm speaking about because I'm just trying to give a quick recap. Okay. Okay. So for the creation, it says Romans chapter 9, verse 20. It says, "For the creation was subjected to futility not willingly, but because of him who subjected it in hope." So now the verse before that, it says, For the earnest expectation of the creation eagerly waits for the revealing of the sons of God. What revealing? We're eagerly waiting for the change to take place because every day we get up, we can feel the frustration in our lives. Every day we get up, we can feel the frustration in everything that we do. I mean, whether it's working, the people we work with, the people we have relationships with, our family members, things that, I mean, I can go on and on. If you look at every aspect of our lives, right? Every domain, as I would say if I'm working, there is some level of frustration or sickness or problem, right? And so the frustration, right? So for the creation was subjected to futility, but not willingly, right? So not willingly means something happened. Something happened. In my Bible, I have that underlined. Something happened, not willingly. So something must have happened that caused us to be subjected to this existentialism, right? That the Bible doesn't call it that. It says the creation was made subject to not willingly. So not willingly, we were subjected to what? To go through hardship, to go through trauma. Some of us, abused physically, emotionally, sexually. I mean, it was not willingly done. And a lot of people don't even know about that scripture in the Bible. And that's why I'm telling you that it's there. Now, so I am a believer, right? Which is why it's called Faith for the Journey. But oftentimes, I say, I give reference to other materials that people are more familiar with. Like, when you take a look at, the Buddhist philosophies, or you take a look at, yeah, basically, because they've been around a lot longer than Christianity has been. Well, so they say historically. But even when you take a look at, concepts from Buddhism or a Buddhist, they talk about impermanence, and they talk about, change, and how they talk about coming into a place where everything is always never the same. Things are going to happen that you have no control over. That's going to cause change. That's going to be a problem, right? So they use, and they have a lot of other terms, but those two come to mind when I think about, impermanence. There's another one called anatta, right? I think I mentioned that before. Hang tight with me. I'm just trying to show the parallel between, Christianity and other philosophies that basically they don't say it in the same way, but the outcome is that we are subject to something that we have no control over, right? So then how do we relate to this? How do we relate to, being born with a disability that you had nothing to do with? How do we relate to being in an existential world where things happen and we have no control over because um, everything changes and everything is impermanent? How do we do that? So, this is the part that I want to pick up on tonight, seeing it through, right? And if you've listened to any of the prior episodes, you know, I really, from the first one actually, started really from out the gate, start introducing different tools and start introducing the concept of becoming flexible about our resources to work in the face of, you know, existentialism, hardships. And there are any other words that you can put to it. Basically, just the mud in life, right? I mean, we're talking about loss, and we're talking about bereavement, we're talking about death. That's impermanence. That's existentialism. These are things that, they are so downright scary. I was sitting in my office when 2 weeks ago when because one of my aunts, my father's baby sister, died in Canada. It's my first time talking about it. She's my baby aunt or his baby sister, and she died. She had breast cancer. She died. It was hard. I sat on my desk and I just cried because someone sent me the. I wasn't able to go. It was the funeral was in Canada, and someone sent me the the funeral that was placed on the video was on YouTube, and I said, yeah, that is existentialism at its finest. Yeah, because we're afraid. I mean, when you look at something like that, you say, you know what? Yeah, one day, my number is going to be called for me to go. That's existentialism. That's change. That's impermanence. That nothing is permanent except for, how do we relate to this impermanence? How do we relate to things that, you know, we had nothing to do with? We had nothing to do with death. We had nothing to do with the creation being subject to futility and frustration. We had nothing to do with, being born with certain things that we had no control over. Hey, we have no control over tomorrow either. We don't. So how do we see it through? Seriously see it through. So, personal side. This past week was hard for me. I think you saw my video. This week was rough. I mean, had some family stuff that came barreling at me like boop, 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 and it was tough. And on top of that, I'm hormonal this week. This is my time, y'all. And I'm tired. I'm just tired. And sorry about that. My hands hit the mic. And I was just really overwhelmed. And I'm in my, I'm 40 a lot, which means that, and if you're a woman listening, and if you're in your 30s, ladies, listen up just in case you didn't have a mom that taught you about changes in your body, in your emotions. Hey, when you're in your 40s, your immune system is different, your hormonal system, and then, I had the whole issue with my thyroid and all of that. I think yeah, we talked about that last year, guys. But I mean, this week, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, it was hard. I started out with the song, put him first. This week was hard for me to do that. These are the existential. So I talk about those things because I want to make it very human and very related. So these things happen. It doesn't matter your position. Yeah, I'm an expert therapist. I am an educator, you know, but you have to understand existentialism does not care about your title or your position in life. It doesn't. It really doesn't. I saw in the paper this week the CEO for I forgot which company now. He died by suicide. Yep, he died by suicide. Then I looked in the paper again, and an airport executive in you guys call it say Arkansas, but I say Arkansas. He had a shootout with the police. They came to his house with a warrant. He basically killed himself. So these things happen. I'm like, things are happening more and more and more and more and more and more. Look at what's going on in Russia now. I mean, so we have the creation is subject to futility. It's subject, guys. That's real. It's subject to all the things that, I'm talking about and the things that you know about, that you've experienced. So now let's transition, right? Maybe I should pause here. Let's pause here. So when I get back, so I told you my story, my personal existential situations that happened this week, and then I mentioned some from the news. What has been your existential thing this week? And here's the thing about existentialism, right? The futility that we're subjected to, what it tends to do, it tends to like give us the wrong message. It gives us the wrong message. Our message is, I'm telling you, this week I felt horrible. Like I didn't pray much. So, that little voice starts talking about, well, that's not good. You're supposed to be this and you're supposed to be that. These other, voices or inner dialogue that goes off, those ones that we were subject to in this fallen world that tries to tell us that we're no good, the one that tries to tell us that we're not worthy. Yeah, because we come up in homes that weren't really emotionally supportive or nurturing. Yeah, those voices try to come back, those are also existential too because they were given to us and we had nothing. You see, do you make the connection or what? Right? So these things were given to us to become part of our identity. What? Because we were subjected to futility. These things that we didn't ask for, but we got them. We're programmed that way. Many of us have themes of abandonment and rejection, subject to futility. We didn't ask for that. We didn't ask for abandonment and rejection. I know I didn't. If you read my book, that's one of my strongest themes is abandonment and rejection. And every now and then some things will happen and and it's like, oh, it tries to remind me of that. And then I get to remind myself about existentialism. I get to remind myself I fortify myself, reminding myself about the fact that, this world was subjected to futility and frustration, and that it's gonna come for me sometimes, and it's gonna come for you sometimes. So we're gonna pause here, and because I know it's gonna come for me sometimes, it's gonna come for you sometimes, or a lot of times, right? Are you connecting with this, seeing it through? So then, how do we see it through? We're going to take about maybe a minute or two. We're going to come back and talk about how do you see it through, right? What are some ways to see it through? Well, we're going to recognize, we're identifying, you know, existentialism even further tonight by identifying the things that do come and the things that have been, right? So now, how do we continue to cultivate faith, right? And see it through? Well, we're going to discuss that when we get back. We're going to pause here and highlight one or two ways of seeing it through, and I'm going to give it a framework for why it is so. All right? So let's play some more music. All right, what are we going to play? Let's see, guys. I love Samuel Midas. You all know that. But I'm going to play this time William Murphy, Free Indeed. My daughter loves this song. One more time, everybody. Say, so the revelation of this song was this, that not only are you free indeed, because he whom the Son sets free is free in, come on, church, he whom the Son sets free is free. But I heard the Spirit of the Lord say to me, he said that from tonight forward, your behavior, your appetite will be a reflection of your freedom. So you won't just be free indeed, but you'll be free indeed. Put your hand on your neighbor, tell him your behavior will be a reflection of your freedom. Free indeed. I need y'all to raise that up all over this room. Get your hands up, say, free indeed. Oh, my God, say it one more time, say it. So I wrote these words. Come on, Bob, let's sing it. Listen, y'all. It's been years. You're still struggling with the same fear. But if I lose it all, you can still call Jesus. No more tears. Tell me why. The Spirit of the Lord is here. Hey, now you be free, free. Oh God, everybody, just say free indeed. Say, one more time, somebody holler, say, I am. Right here, God, free. Listen, truth is, I don't deserve what he did. all my secrets. Hey, to call on Jesus. No more guilt, no more shame, 'cause you cleared my name. I'll never be the same, but I'll be set free. Y'all got it? Look at somebody telling me he hid my secrets. Oh, thank you, Jesus. Say it again, church. Y'all say it. I want everybody to get up on your feet, and I want you to prophesy over your own life. Say, one more time. Say, in my life, in my will, what I feel. Y'all gonna say, in my mouth, in my will, what I feel. Y'all sing it. In my mind, in my will, how I feel. In my mind, in my mind, in my will, how I I love the song. My will, in my mind and in my will, I'm free. 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 Yes, free. Freedom. You know, freedom is one of the themes in existentialism. By the way, I want to also add another word to kind of clarify or give meaning to existentialism. It's disillusionment. That is the primary word associated with this philosophy and this framework. Is this disillusionment? You know, and disillusionment is real. I like that word. It's a strong word, but you feel disillusioned. You know, especially when you believe for something. I'll never forget when I was working at Palms West Hospital. I was a brand new social worker, brand new out of graduate school. I was working in the ER, and I remember this family came in. I think they were Jehovah's Witness. It was a young boy, a young teen boy, and I don't recall the medical crisis. I'm not sure if it was in cardiac arrest or what the issue was, but I remember that, it seemed very dismal. And, I remember watching the mother and father pray for that young man. I prayed too, right? I prayed. And I was like, God, please let this young boy live. Please, God. He died. I was devastated. That's disillusionment at its finest. I'll never forget another one. When I became more seasoned working there, I was working on pediatrics. That was my primary floor. And I used to work with the pediatric physicians with a lot of, you know, school-aged children, actually infants too, to be clear. And we've had we experienced like a season of just several drownings or near drownings. And I'll never forget one in particular. The kid died. It was devastating, because the doctors work, I won't call names because one of you guys might be listening to this podcast, but if you are, you know what I'm talking about. Man, that kid died. I was disillusioned. So I give you these examples to cement maybe your own story, about disillusionment. I have several experiences with disillusionment. When I dropped out of law school, that was tough. I was disillusioned, right? So disillusionment comes in various forms, in various ways, into all of us. None of us are exempt from that, which is essentially existentialism. So I figure I would throw that word in there because I really want to make sure I throw out every and anything, any tool that can help you to understand or connect so you can see it through in your life. Hey, one thing is clear. You're not going to escape existentialism, all right? You're not. And by the way, for those persons who think that, well, I'll just cut my story short, you take it with you. Yeah, I'm going to challenge you a little bit on that. And I was working with someone recently that was suicidal. By the way, pause. If you are feeling unsafe with yourself, I didn't mention this earlier. I want you to pick up the phone and dial 988 and push 1. You don't have to take your life, right? You don't. And I'm going to tell you why. Because you didn't give it. You did not give yourself life. All right? So I broke it down for him. When you leave here, only your flesh stays, right? The rest of you goes. All that stuff that you think you're getting rid of, I mean, your senses go. They don't stop. They don't. They don't. So even when you look at in Buddhism, they talk about reincarnation. So when you reincarnate, what are you going to come back with? You think you shed that stuff? No, that's why you got to go through your stuff, right? And there's so much more details to that. But anyway, just real short is that, yeah, the flesh, goes, I mean, into the back to the ground. But then what happens to the rest of everything else? You think that stuff just disappears? Says who, right? Says who? And by the way, then you leave other people behind here in pain. Yeah, that's not cool. That's not. So if you're hearing this podcast, so now let's talk about how to relate to disillusionment. Let's talk about that. So one of the themes, and we're going to go through them, not tonight, obviously, but subsequent podcasts. Oh, hang on, guys. I gotta drink some water. Woo-hoo. Yeah, I talk all day, all week, but I love it though. Woohoo! I love it. So it's freedom, the freedom to do what? The freedom to relate to what you're currently experiencing. Because remember, guys, remember, the spiritual framework says that we're subjected to this anyway. Existentialism say, yeah, it's gonna happen because what? There's adaptation adaptation in the world, right? And things are gonna happen. We don't have control over that. So one of the themes in existentialism is, again, let me repeat that, is freedom. But what's this freedom for? The freedom to how you're gonna respond to what is happening to you. The freedom to participate and not, when I say participate, meaning not check out. Okay. When you check out, you're not participating. When you check out, you're using your freedom, but you're violating your freedom, right? Because you're not working through. You're not being processed. So remember, if this creation is subject to frustration, right? Not willingly, but in hope, the hope is the part that you got to work through. So you have the freedom in hope to work through that horrible moment, that emotional pain moment that you just want to roll over and die. You have the freedom to do that. You have the freedom to work through that. When you take your life, you're denying yourself the freedom to do it. That's what's happening, right? You're denying yourself the freedom to work through, to see something through. And here's the thing about that. Now's a good time to look back over your life, right in this moment, right now, to reflect on a moment, and perhaps even after this podcast ends, reflect on a moment in your life when you thought you would never have gotten through that. Did you get through it? Take a look. I know you did. And you know what? Those are the exceptions I was pointing out or referencing in the last two podcast episodes. There are exceptions in our lives in the midst of the disillusionment, the hardship, the struggles. And in those moments that there were the exceptions, that's because guess what? How you related to that, you actually took a hold of your freedom to do something. Remember that. Let's pause here for a second. I want to really just kind of hone in on this. So having the freedom, right? And how you relate to what's happening, how you respond, here's another word, how you respond to what's happening, right? Helps you to find your own uniqueness about who you are. Pause. That's big. That's big. So essentially, when we cultivate, right, when we are flexible about, the resources that we use in our lives, that's one of the ways that we can relate to disillusionment and the stuff that we were subjected to and the stuff that happens in adaptation that we have no control over. So if we're subjected to this not willingly but in hope, the hope is the working out of things, the processing of things in our lives. And then here comes this scientific evidence-based framework that talks about this freedom, right? And by the way, well, I'll get into that next time. We don't have time tonight. But again, so one of the themes that the primary theme, I believe, I mean, there are four others, but the idea that, you know what, it's in this moment, right? It's in this moment of freedom when we choose how we relate. Because what? This choosing is subjectivity, is subject to you, right? No one's going to force you to see it through. So it is subject to you, right? To take a look at how you relate to your own experiences that happen. So it's a subjective decision, right? To how you relate to something, to the things that come at us, right, in our lives. And when we're able to do that, guess what? Guess what? Guess what? My daughter would say, let's just say, guess what? Guess what? It's in that thing that we find the gem, right? So when you exercise the freedom in hope, right? This is how you develop faith to get that thing that you need to move on to the next thing, because the next existential thing will come. So if we're flexible with our resources, right? And by the way, I've mentioned them all throughout the episodes, but I'm not even going to mention them tonight. I would love to hear from you to see, I don't know, have you developed your own resource? Have you seen other people use different resources to cultivate their faith? Which makes them what? Which makes them what? Exercise their freedom, exercise their freedom in relating properly in hope to the disillusionment and to the difficulty they're facing. I know that's a whole lot. I'm trying to really wind it down. But I want to end on this note talking about this freedom. When you do not, when you cut your life short, you're not seeing it through. You're not finding your uniqueness because it's in there. And this uniqueness, right? This uniqueness, each of us actually, we each have this. And that's the thing that you need to get from the disillusionment. That's the thing you need to get from the hardship, right? The existentialism, things that we're subjected to. You need to go through it in hope and get it. You need to get it because that's what was taken from us. You need to go back and get it, right? Now, check this out. So I like to end with scriptures, right? I like to end with scriptures. Philippians 1 verse 6 says, being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it out to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. So God knows the future. You don't. So when we stop writing our stories, when we just throw our hands up in the air, when we do not exercise our freedom per existentialism, when we deny ourselves the freedom to relate to properly to what's happening to us instead of checking out. And by the way, some people don't just check out by killing themselves. They check out by just being not motivated. They stop going to work. They stop writing. They stop pursuing school. They start comparing themselves to other people, right? So we can deny our freedom in a lot of ways. And that goes for me first. If you work with me, I talk like this. This is not just for you. This is for me. How about John 15, verse 5? It says, this really came really strong for me this week. It says, I am the vine. You are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. You see that? So, first of all, God, the first scripture, God knows the future. He knows the future, you don't. And so therefore, when we check out or try to, take our lives and deny ourselves the freedom of doing the work that, and getting what we need so we can do the work that we've been called to, each of us, we're not going to bear any fruit. You're not going to bear the fruit. No, not just any fruit, much fruit. Much fruit, right? And I like this right here. Ephesians 2 verse 10, it says, "For we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus, to do good works which God prepared for us in advance to do." There again, Ephesians chapter 2 verse 10. So remember, things are going to happen to us We're subjected to frustration. Existentialism says that disillusionment will come. But it's in that, right? Because in hope, we can work through how we relate this theme of freedom, finding our uniqueness in our circumstances when we continue. And how we continue is becoming more flexible about the resources that we use. Those resources that will really open up, our spiritual prowess, if you will, our aptitude, our ability, right, to relate, to respond to the disillusionment that come upon us. And so, hey, bearing much fruit. Bearing much fruit is what you were called to do. Bear much fruit. Understand that if you're going to bear much fruit, guess what? It's not going to come easy. It's not. You're going to be subjected to frustrations and different things in your life. But remember, it's in the mud, it's in those existentialism things that what you need, that uniqueness that you need, that thing, right? That thing that you need so you can see it through. I hope that came together for you tonight, looking at the evidence based framework of existentialism, weaving in scriptures and other philosophical views that really, I would say, made an amalgam, if you will, of looking at the hardships in life and, the importance or the importance that they serve that makes us, unique individuals so we can continue to not only, support ourselves, but intricately support other people so we can actually have meaning and purpose in life and have joy, in spite of the difficulties and have meaning in spite of the difficulties. And so that's seeing it through. That's one of the ways to see it through. And next time we're going to take a look at some other themes. I haven't decided what it's going to be yet. We'll see. But I really thank you for joining me for episode number 8. I was encouraged as I went through, the themes and the different framework that helps us to really solidify, who we are and why we are and moving through what we need to do. I think that's amazing. I was encouraged tonight. It's 6:58. I can't believe we did it tonight. We did it, and I think we need to do this. Woo! Yeah. That's awesome. Hey, quick announcement. In April, I'm not sure, and I'll be sending out a newsletter. If you're on my newsletter list, if you want to be a part of my newsletter list, you can always reach me online, send me your address or your information. But we're going to be doing a virtual fall women's self-esteem group. So we're no longer doing it in person, but we're moving it online. So I'm making that announcement here. And I'm going to be sending out information on my Facebook page, NBHI, Facebook and Instagram, and also TikTok for persons who may want to do this virtual group. So I'm just making sure I tell you that ahead of time. So we're going to send information, I want to say maybe like end of April, so persons can begin to sign up for the fall women's virtual group. So thank you so much for that. And we're going to end with Simon Madas, You Got Me. I love the song. Again, I stumbled upon this one too, but You Got Me. This is a nice, I don't know, it's a reggae beat. Y'all know I love reggae too, so that's my background. But here we go. Forecasters are predicting that more stormy weather is brewing. The title's called You Got Me, and he does. He got us. No matter what, he got us, guys. Hanging as waves rash the coast. A clash of weather systems in Europe has seen repeated storms and floods in the north and west. Conditions not expected. Plug me in. We gotta step out of it. Step out into the waters. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're calling me to step into the water. See you calling me. Oh. He's calling us. We can work through it. We can see it through. Heard the forecast and they say a storm's coming.
Looking all around, everybody be running. I wanna run too, but something don't feel right. Can't spend the rest of my days living in fright. All of my ride or die suddenly disappeared. What happened to the promises that y'all always be here? Starting to feel like I'm losing my mind. I count my many blessings if I make it through tonight. But here comes Jesus in the midst of my storm. Speak a word of peace and suddenly there's a calm. And then you tell me I can do it just like you. And you stretch your hands forth and say, son, come through. Shall I put my trust in Elohim? Things are looking good, but they ain't always what they seem. But you're the man who fed 5,000 people on a hill and I'm hungry for more. So I will step out into the water. I'm scared, but I gotta go further. And all I gotta do is keep my eyes on you. You got me, you got me, you got me. Step out into the water, cause you told me that I'm an overcomer. All I gotta do is keep my eyes on you, my eyes on you. Yeah. And I know that you're able to keep me, but my heart can take the grief. And I'm a little bit like Nicodemus. I believe it hurt my unbelief. And I know that sometimes I quote words of faith, but it's easier said than done. And I'm crazy in my head. I be following the stars instead of gazing at the sun. But I'm getting kind of tired of being helpless. Lord, you wrote the song is amazing, guys. Finish rocking out to it. It's hard to believe that you're speaking about me. But in this moment, I believe my steps are ordered by you. So this is what I'm gonna do. Come on, guys. Step out into the water this week, guys. And remember to be flexible. Be flexible in your resources. That may include prayer. You know, open up about your faith. Maybe that you're struggling with your faith. Open up about it. Maybe check out a new church. I don't know. Listen to one online. You know, be flexible. But never stop moving through. You guys are awesome, guys. Take care. God bless you.